Warning, the following may contain house mimics. Join fantasy authors Phil Tucker, Timandra Whitecastle, David Benem, Benedict Patrick, and Josiah Bancroft as they roll dice and take on the bad guys in a game of Dungeons and Dragons. 5 authors, 5 worlds, 1 adventure. It's time to get crit-faced. Previously on Crit-Faced, 4 strangers, each from a different world, have found themselves pulled to a strange new land, a land shrouded in mist. As they travel down a road to find their bearings, they discover that the thick wall of mist behind them is following their progress.
Talfrin comes to this. He looks sidelong at his new companions and says, "Where I hail from, there are means of teleporting great distances, and perhaps we have been subjected to such magic, but that does not quite explain the behavior of this fog." And at that, he scrutinizes it through his monocle and tries to see if there's something magical or otherwise weird about it. Do I roll an Arcana check or something?
Yes, definitely.
Oh, right. 7 plus a 10.
10. So 10. So this you've certainly never encountered anything like this in your life. But actually, what is Lord Talfrin actually doing here? What's he when you're rolling this Arcana check? What exactly is he? How exactly is he hoping to get information?
I don't think that I have magic as a spell.
Well, so no, not even as a spell, but I mean, how is he trying to get a sense? Is he just studying?
He does some pretty elementary stuff. He throws a rock into the mist. If it curves out of the way, he approaches it and waves his cane. It inhales deeply to sort of savor the bouquet and see strange tang.
So you don't get any sense that it's magical, but it's certainly not behaving in any way you would expect the fog to behave. Obviously, the fact that it's moving behind you is enough for that. I imagine he probably briefly tests it just by putting some body part that he doesn't really care about up against it to see. And although you're able to withdraw your hand or your foot or your ear, you're safe, but you definitely feel that it has been almost made weary just by coming into contact with this fog.
Made weary.
Sir, I can't help but notice that you've been fiddling with the fog for a few moments. Is this part of some plan? Or are you just sort of what are you doing, sir?
I am trying to understand that myself. This fog is clearly preternatural, and unfortunately, it being fog, it's rather hard to study. But I have a suggestion. I have the ability to illuminate this pebble and plucks one off the road. How about we leave it behind us and see whether the fog consumes its light altogether or if it remains visible as any source of light should.
A man of science, I like it.
Okay. So
the only potential back, of course, and he looks at everyone, a source of light could draw unwanted attention from the woods around us. Is that a risk that we're all willing to take?
Well,
I believe that we already have attention because someone must have brought us here. Someone must know that we are here.
She makes a good point. There's not much to risk just lighting a pebble and leaving it behind. I mean, let's face it, if that brings the heavens down upon us, they were very poorly put up. So I say we try it.
Master McCragg?
I have no problem with you trying your little tricks. I've lived in the wild my entire life.
We know.
This is like nothing I've seen. We should figure out its source.
Very well. So Talfrin then proceeds to light. He draws a little bit of slightly moss out of a pouch, rubs it over the rock, says a few words over it, and then a pearlescent light glows forth quite brightly. Everyone within 20 feet of it is illuminated in bright light, and then there's dim light for an additional 20 feet beyond. So it sort of incandesces in his hand like a star plucked from the heavens.
What does Lord Talfrin normally experience when he sort of gets in touch with his source of magic? How does it? What's that sensation like for him?
It stems from within his soul. He powers it himself.
Right. Okay.
There's no external.
Okay.
So with that, he flips it up like a lucky coin, catches it in his fist, gives a nod to the others, tosses it over his shoulder, and begins walking.
Okay. Can
I just say that is some fantastic stage magic. I have never seen anything quite like that in my life, sir. That was fantastic. You must teach me that trick.
Stage magic?
Yes, flash pots and silk scarves and fake blood.
I pick the pebble back up and I walk over to Jean, and I say, "Here, take it."
Oh, thank you.
It's the fakery at work, please.
Well, I have to admit I can't explain this. This is actually quite odd. How did you do this?
I extend my hand to take it back.
Okay, here we
the
go.
World, not stage magic, my friend.
No.
I drop it back on the road unless anyone has anything else to say. Clap Jean on the shoulder and quote a little Shakespeare at him to break all sorts of dimensions, all sorts of distortion fifth wall. Say the world is broader and deeper than your philosophy. Halfway through, Talfrin loses confidence. There's more in the world than your philosophy. Something. But as an actor, I'm sure.
Sir, you are no bard.
That is true. That is true.
So, is the idea behind the experiment to walk on? I hope that the fog bank continues to roll over the road behind you and to see what happens.
Yeah, it should last an hour, and it should remain visible given this bright light for a good, unless the road curves through the forest for as long as it's line of sight. So if the fog quenches that light, I think we all know that we have to scream and just split up and run in opposite directions.
As the group moves about 10 feet away, that's when the wall of fog sort of begins to move over the pebble, and it behaves very much the way you'd expect a source of light to behave when enveloped by fog. You can catch sight of it, glowing in the white behind you. As you move further away from maybe 20, 30 feet away from the pebble, the fog is obviously very thick. And the light begins to fade very quickly. And when we get to about 40 or 50 feet, the light has faded altogether, and you no longer can catch a glimpse of it.
What should we make of this?
It's not natural.
That we cannot return the way we came.
Perhaps.
Agreed.
Talfrin is quite grumpy as he glares at the fog accusingly. This is like nothing I have experienced before nor read.
Me neither, but I was just very startled by a glowing rock, so I feel like I may not be the most expert of the group here. Should we run? Does anyone else feel like we should start running, or is this still a strolling sort of emergency?
Jean, I think you are moving us in the right direction, but first, perhaps foolishly, I will contradict our good friend Master Suna here, and I do wish to return those 50 feet to see if the pebble has been taken or if its magic has simply been quenched.
I'll follow you.
Good.
So we all stay together and go back.
I would appreciate it. Thank you, Master McCragg.
Okay.
Anyone have a problem with this of action?
No. Concerns, but not a problem.
Yes, those I have in quite a large quantity. Very well. Tug on the lapels of my greatcoat again, blow out my mustache, and start stomping towards where the pebble was.
Okay. So you move that 10 feet towards the wall of fog, and you realise that the fog is not going to move back for you. So if you're going to continue any further, you reckon that about 40 feet more would bring you to where the pebble is. But at the moment, the fog is your nose is touching sort of this wall.
I slow down and stop. Look sidelong at my companions, and I say, "Shall we press through this fog, or?"
Someone or something is clearly trying to force us somewhere, and I have a very bad feeling about it. Any of your tricks that may disclose this mist secrets are certainly welcome.
Thank you.
Well, we could tie a rope to your foot and let you walk into it a little ways, and we'll see. If you cry out in distress, I for one will pull on the rope.
Your words, I would say, warm my heart, but they fail to do even that. I do not appreciate being led by any force. I will proceed. If you wish to wait here, I do not blame you. And Talfrin presses into the fog, intent on returning to his dearly beloved pebble.
Okay. Is anyone going with Lord Talfrin?
I'll go with him.
Let's not all throw ourselves on the swords at once. Let's space it out a little. So you don't even want like a safety line? You're just going to walk into the madness? Is that the plan?
I think he's already in it.
He's gone.
Yeah. He's already gone.
Master Sunna?
No.
The logic of this world seems to dictate that something wicked is in this fog, and we'll probably raise our level of survival if we all stay together.
Do we have time for me to put on my fine clothes? Can I change very quickly?
No, you cannot remove your shitty pants.
How many podcasts can we divide a 20-minute adventure into?
Come now.
All right.
Jean.
We'll go.
I do have I have some hempen rope, and we could tie each other together.
I think
It's already too
I think
late.
Lord Talfin's already in there.
Yeah.
We could.
I wish I'd thought of that earlier.
We could tie ourselves up. Yeah.
Yes, we could tie ourselves up
to a tree and not move.
I'm just saying I'm going to hold the end of this rope, and if someone else wants to hold the other end before we march to our death, that would be fine.
I like that reasoning. I will hold your rope.
Excellent.
So
and you guys just met.
Is McCraggy in as well?
You can call me Kellen, but yeah, I already am.
Kellen and Talfrin have been in for at least a minute now.
Okay. Well,
it's only 40 feet. Have we crossed it in a minute? You're leaving me in suspense.
So I'm just waiting to see what Master Sunna and Jean are up to.
If you're ready, I am. I say we proceed.
Okay.
So follow my order.
Tie it around.
We'll go for Kellen and Lord Talfrin. You guys have obviously gone on ahead. I say we reach. So you're within the fog now. There's no barrier. It's not moved aside. It literally is. When you hold your hands up, it's very difficult to even see them in front of your face. You can tell by the ground underfoot that you're still on the road, but that's it. You're probably and Lord Talfrin in particular, you were aware already of this draining property the fog seemed to have when you tested it earlier, and it's really sapping at your energy levels now, both of you. So you cross what you reckon is about half the distance that it would take to get to where the pebble lay, and I need you both to take a Constitution saving throw.
Oh my goodness! You're not messing around. 16.
20.
Okay. Kellen, you also can feel this magic sapping at your energy levels, but you manage to grit your teeth and push through its effects. Lord Talfrin, you try to do the same, but unfortunately, you're in comparison with your companion, your form just can't cope with the strain, and you actually become physically exhausted just by walking this 20 feet through the fog. So. It feels like you're sort of lethargic now and finding it hard to hold your head up. I'm going to give you exhaustion level 1, which means that any ability checks that you take from now on, you have disadvantage on. You can also see further down where you reckon the road is a faint light shining.
Right, as in this on the floor, like it might be my pebble.
Yes. Are you going to push on?
Can I see Master McCragg by my side?
You could probably hear him.
Fog that.
I imagine you could hear him. You're aware that he's been following you.
All right. I breathing heavy and for some reason like drenched in sweat. I extend my walking cane to prevent him from stepping by me, and I say, "I see the light up ahead, but this fog is." It's inimical to. I can't even talk. Let turn. And sort of dragging my feet and sort of like huffing, and I turn around and flee the fog.
Okay. You cross about half the distance before you bump into Master Summer and Jean with their rope.
I just sort of repeat what I just said to McCragg.
Are you saying we should leave? You're saying you're giving up on the glowing stone and we should run away?
I can't follow. No time to talk. And
you both are also aware of the effect this fog has been having on you as soon as you stepped into it.
I'm fine with running. How do you feel about that, lady?
I think it is a wise course.
Me first.
Trips her up.
So the four of you burst. I assume Kellen, are you following? Sorry, I never asked.
Yeah, as soon as I saw Lord Telfrin stagger out of there, I realized that I didn't want to be trifling with this whatever demon lurks in this fog.
Okay, so the four of you burst back through the fog, exactly onto the road, exactly where you came from. You're panting heavily, sweat pouring from you. That was a tough experience. And Lord Talfrin, you continue to suffer from exhaustion, and you're not going to recover. You're not going to recover from that until you have a long rest.
Good. All right, so I stagger over to a tree and prop myself up against it. And sort of, I look like I've been up for like 3 nights. It's like deep shadows carved under my eyes, and I look at the rest of you. That was whole natural, but I did see the pebble. Its glow is muted by the fog. It was not dispelled.
Well, that seems to be an important revelation. So shall we continue to flee the poisonous mashed potatoes and find some actual warm hearth and maybe some food and a bath for our friend?
I agree. We should probably just continue westward then. This is where the fog is trying to lead us. Maybe we'll even see who is the perpetrator behind the fog.
It might be our host. This could be a welcoming fog, for all we know.
I very much doubt it.
Me as well.
For once, I agree with Mr. Marmalade and think we should get clear of here as quickly as possible. Marlamay, you Philistine. Marmaduke, are we back to that?
Oh, no.
I mop at my brow with...
More to do.
Let's call him Martha.
The indignity that I suffer.
I nod wearily and mop at my brow with a handkerchief and follow behind the other.
Okay.
So does the fog does it progress at the rate that we are walking? So if we walk quicker, will it then move quicker?
Yes, it absolutely does. It's very much basing its movement on how far you are progressing along the road.
Ah.
We're being herded like sheep.
Mm.
There are many sheep in my land.
Well received. Okay. Well received. Good perceptions.
So,
Is everyone here like able to defend themselves? I think that's the question. I would just like to have a sense of if we are going into peril, like how you plan to face that peril. I myself am well versed in handling a crossbow. I don't know if anyone else is familiar with this device. It's quite impressive.
Talvin pulls his cloak back and shows a very small, sort of beautifully crafted crossbow at his hip. Like a light crossbow.
That's okay. That's an okay one. I've seen. I think mine's nicer, really, if you look at it.
Then he extends his finger, still sort of looking exhausted, and fires off a bolt of flame at one of the trees. It catches fire now, but it deals a 1d10 fire damage at one of the trees close by, like a sudden roar, and the crimson light bursts up into the fog. Because I can also do that.
Well, I can do that too. I just don't wish to right now. So he can defend himself. That's good to see. And I imagine the tall man with the axes. But what about the dancer? Your name was Suna. Is that you used to have more martial dances, or is it just posing?
I am no poser.
Oh, well, it's good to hear.
I do not wish to reveal all of my secrets to you.
It's nice to meet you as well. Okay, so I say the two men with the crossbows lead the way. If we're going into a trap, we want to be prepared. The man with the axe is in front of us. That makes more sense. And then the dancer takes up the rear.
No, I will go in between. I think that's the safer place.
Ah, like a true dance partner.
The lady among the one.
okay. Okay.
I'll take the lead.
Let us continue. So we're going to continue to travel westward along this road. We'll continue for about half a mile or so, and it's fairly uneventful. I mean, the road is more or less a straight path west. Every so often it winds, but it seems to just be meandering around whoever built the road had to build it around. Generally, it's heading in that direction. Eventually, and as you continue to walk, the same circumstances persist with the fog. It remains in a thick wall that seems to be constantly 10 feet behind you. You can tell quite a distance to the west. There's a similar wall, but it's opening up as you move towards it. Eventually, however, that the fog ahead of you opens up onto high stone buttresses that jut about 50 feet from the ground, and in a wall basically that runs across the road that you are travelling upon. Huge iron gates are hanging within this stone structure, and these gates are basically gating the road ahead. To the left and right of the gates, which are of dew clinging to them, are two headless statues of armed guardians, like giant knights. That again, they're from foot to their severed necks would reach 50 feet high. Very impressive to look at. The heads, as you get closer, the heads of these statues are lying at the feet of the statues covered in weeds, and they greet you only with silence. We're about, you're still quite a distance away, I would say about 40, 50 feet still from this gate.
Does anyone else not like the look of the headless statues? Is that a shared sentiment?
There are many headless people in my land.
Of course there are. Okay. Well, anyone else?
It's decidedly ominous. I turn to you like, Jinx!
No.
No. Can we like a general investigation or perception check to sort of like scrutinize it for more detail?
Mm-hmm. What are you looking for?
Signs of movement, people.
Do you want to do it?
Other headless statues, are they moving?
Okay.
Are they magical?
A perception check.
All right.
And remember, you're at disadvantage because you are exhausted, Lord Talfin.
Oh, because I just rolled a 17.
No.
The other one is a 9.
No. Okay.
So 9 plus 7, 16. Mm-hmm. So I take off my monocle and dab at my brow with my handkerchief. I'm still sweating like a man in a sauna.
No, from what you can tell, it doesn't seem to be anything anything sinister hidden about the statues, other than the general disturbing imagery. Just like the cold sort of iron gates, the statues and all of the stonework here on these tall walls are coated with condensation.
Does it look like they had moved by like a blow, so it's like raw torn rock at the neck, or does it look like it was cleanly sliced, or it was built that way?
No, it doesn't look cleanly sliced. It certainly seems more like it's been pushed off. Yes. Yeah.
And I'm sorry, are there walls extending around this gatehouse, or is it just a freestanding gatehouse?
It's dark, correct?
It's concealed. I mean, you think it must be daylight because there is light. It's not pitch black, but because of the heavy fog, the visibility is poor. So the walls that the gates are connected to, from what you can tell, extend into the woods and into the fog, but you can't tell how far they extend.
Is there enough brush and other cover to, I guess, offer some concealment and make sneaking up to the gates possible?
Not without going into the fog.
I don't mean to toot my own horn here, but I am a fantastic actor. If this is some sort of trap and there is a malevolent force at work, would it not be better to send forth one scout in disguise? I have quite a nice disguise to test the waters, as it were. And once I find that all has been cleared, you may follow. Or we can send the barbarian, if you would prefer. We can just let him run.
I worry they would smell your rose water from a league away.
It is quite fragrant.
Benedict, is this the kind of gatehouse that has like rooms inside it? Like it actually is a build, or is it just?
You certainly don't see any. You don't see any evidence of that from what you're aware on this side. It just seems to be.
So we only see the statue and a little bit of the wall. Do we actually see the gates, or are we just assuming
the gates,
that there are gates?
There are iron gates there.
Okay.
As the others talk, Jean begins to put on his fantastic fortune teller outfit, complete with scarf and large skirts and a heavy drapery on his shoulders. And when he looks up again, he is quite transformed. Behold, Madame Rousseau, I have become. See, this is going to work perfectly. I will go forth. They will not suspect anything of an old woman, right? And if they do lunge upon me, you, my friend, shall come forth and rescue me.
Well, if you
wait. Let me show you the crystal ball. I'll show you the crystal ball. This is the crowning moment here. So, Are
the headless statues scalable? So could one potentially climb?
You could certainly have a try.
Then I think I will.
Okay. Okay.
What do I do?
Well, you're going to.
That means you've got to walk right up to them. That's like 40 or 50 feet leaving the group.
But I
Is that what
can
you mean to do?
run and jump silently.
Sure.
and
I'm just
quickly?
saying, like,
Not in
Making sure that you're aware
disguise,
that
just
you're-
like as yourself.
Just as myself.
Oh, madness.
I'm pretty sure that we are being expected.
Okay.
I pat Madame Rousseau consolingly on the shoulder and say, "It is a fine disguise."
But if you would prefer, Jean, then maybe you would like to distract whoever might potentially be behind the gates while I scale the statue and see what is actually there.
I like how you think. A distraction. Let me let me get my crone's voice together. Hello, sir. Yes, that's it. I'm ready.
Okay.
So as I approach the gates in my disguise, and my fellows support me, and you will run up on the thing and see what's what, right?
Yes.
Okay, that sounds good.
So McCrag and I are staying back at our original spot, like 50 feet away, I guess.
Okay.
I'll stay there with you.
Okay.
All right.
And so is Madame Rousseau taking point, and
Yes.
Master Sunna is sort of running
On the sidelines.
behind. Yeah. So Madame Rousseau, as you get within about 15 feet off the gate, you hear a loud clang, and then a screeching noise begins as the iron gates open outwards towards you. And
Hello! I am just a feeble old woman. I mean you no harm.
Would you like to take a performance check?
It was perfect. That was perfect.
There's a very Terry Jones' quality to it.
He is a genius. So my performance, I would rate it a overall 9 out of 20.
So
I turn to
I
McCrag and
admit
just
it,
shake
my
my
man.
head.
It was not my best work.
the gates are now fully open, and through them you can see the road continuing westwards.
Crit-Faced is a weekly Dungeons & Dragons podcast. To make sure you never miss an episode, and to get an exclusive prequel episode of the podcast where you can find out what our characters were up to before this adventure began, head over to critfacedpodcasts.com and join our Crit-Faced fan group.